Infrastructure Energy Infrastructure Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, June 15th, 2021 at 6:02 p.m. And we don't have a lot on the agenda, not really. Committee members present are Ray Whedon and councilperson or man Brian Spitznagel. And primarily we're concerned with annual road maintenance markings. Okay, anybody want to speak to that or?
You want me to or you want to?
We asked Angela Revade here to go over the current status of our funds as far as, are we up, we down?
Oh yeah, okay.
For the monthly, so we have some idea of what, where to go from here as far as Mr. Gelati's recommendations for the striping and for some other road repair work.
Yeah, so per Mr. Gelati's recommendations, I actually did a little check and I have the money in the budget for the striping. It is there.
How much is there?
I have enough to cover this. I had thrown a miscellaneous amount of money to kind of balance things out toward what I thought would be Alexander, and since we're not doing that because we did not get OPWC, we can use it toward the county road maintenance program.
That was at around about $90,000?
Yes, yes.
Could
So-
you repeat that? I can't quite hear you.
Yes, when I did the budget, I did for Dunham, I did for our concrete program, and I did money that I marked as Alexander, but we're not, and it wasn't the full amount we would have, Alexander would have been a wash technically, but I threw money toward another project, and because Alexander's not gonna happen, that money can be used for the county road program.
Could you tell us how much money?
90,000 and change.
So give me a minute, just to clarify, you're saying that in the 2021 budget,
There is already money
There's-
for striping.
there's $90,000 that was allocated for infrastructure,
Yes.
road program type repairs. Is that
Yes.
that accurate?
In addition to our concrete program in Dunham, there was an additional 90,000 that I had in the budget.
Okay, and then that was with the thought of perhaps going toward the Alexander Road.
In case we needed to use it for Alexander, even though that would have technically hopefully come out as a wash, yes, that's what I marked it for, but that was my own note for what it was for. But I put it in there knowing and looking at what I had from Joe in the fall, that we would also be doing county road stuff, which came out to about 60,000, just under 60,000. So that cushion was in there already. So if you want to go ahead over the numbers.
Yeah, and as far as, and of course, it's a snapshot where we are today as far as our overall budget.
As a snapshot, and I don't have May quite completed yet, but through April, we are on track. We are not over budget. We haven't spent any more than last year, so
We have a little over 120,000, or give or take,
Yeah.
to the good.
Yep, we're
So
still to the
far.
good. Taxes are up, so we're good.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes. You may.
According to the memos, we have two memos dated 6/9/2021 from Mr. Gelati. And I broke it down by his memos, and the 21, 22, and 23 road repair, according to these two memos. And what I have is, he has for 2021, with the county grant, crack sealing, Egbert and Sagamore, and that would be the north side of Sagamore, spot repairing, Dunham, Egbert, and Sagamore, the north side, and restriping, Dunham, Egbert, and Sagamore. The total cost of those three things are $113,000. He's estimating the materials cost, which would be covered by the county grant, of $54,000. So the cost to the village would be $59,000. We asked him for a estimate on restriping the rest of the main roads, which would be all of Alexander and all of Walton, and he calculates that at a round number of $18,000. So that's a total right now of $77,000. Mr. Gelati does not recommend striping the side roads as of yet.
He didn't include Egbert in there.
Yeah, Egbert is included in there. Egbert, Sagamore, and Dunham for the spot repairing and crack sealing Egbert and Sagamore. For 2022, so far this year, that's $77,000. For 2022, we did get a grant in 2019 for Tulip. That grant has to be used, and that grant is for the water main fix. That grant has to be used in 3 years. So we have put in a request for a grant to do the water main on Hickory and Chestnut also. He recommends, if we do get Hickory and Chestnut granted to us, to do Tulip, Hickory, and Chestnut in 2022. That's the last year we would be allowed to do Tulip. It's a 3-year, we have to use that money within 3 years. He is estimating currently that cost for our cost for the road, which we don't get any reimbursement for, to be about $300,000.
Wow.
And then for 2023, Rotary Drive, we did receive a grant for a water main, but to resurface that road is $92,000. And Connolly, they are going to put in one for Connolly, or they did. And if that's awarded, that resurfacing would cost $88,000 for a 2023 total for resurfacing of $180,000. So, short math, I skipped one thing. This year, the total is $77,000. He is also suggesting, which is not on the memos, but I did speak to him and the mayor spoke to him, and he is suggesting if we had the money to place $50,000 towards the rest of the side roads for spot repairing. He said that would go a long way towards keeping the roads in shape for at least a few years to come, so we can, until we have money to start resurfacing the entire roads. Adding all of these up for a 3-year road program is $607,000 to the cost to the village. This year, if we did wish to put in the $50,000 for the side roads, that would be a total addition to our budget. I shouldn't say in addition to our budget, because and Council President Pro Tem Allen just walked in. Before you walked in, there is $90,000 currently in our budget for roads. This adds up to $127,000 for this year, which again would be the county crack sealing and spot repairing of Egbert, Sagamore, and Dunham. Crack sealing only of Egbert and Sagamore. Spot repair, restriping of Dunham, Egbert, and Sagamore. And restriping the main roads and spot repairing side roads. That would be $127,000 per Mr. Gelati's estimates. If Again, public math, we have 90,000 already in there. There would be an additional $37,000 in our budget. Angela stated before you got in, we're currently on track this year's overall budget. So we are currently in the black, give or take $100,000, give or take.
Do you have an extra copy of that? What's your reading?
I just printed this up myself, but I can certainly go out and make copies for you.
Okay.
I just did it for my own briefing today, but I'll certainly make a copy for you. Angela, you want to, real quick a minute? If you could make one for the council president, please. So that's where we're sitting per Mr. Gelati this year. Of course, the big nut to crack next year would be the tulip and tulip and the hickory and chestnut horseshoe, and then the year after would be Connolly
And Rotary,
and Rotary.
for starters.
For starters, yeah, there's always crack sealing going on and things like that. Bless you. Also, we have to put the Dunham Road, this current Dunham Road project, the Dunham Road Hill, in a bond. And that's going to increase our debt service also. So I'd like, when Angela gets back, I think in monthly payments, that's how my mind works. If we can afford that monthly payment or the yearly payment in our budget to increase, because I can see we're not going to be able to come up with an entire $300,000 next year, I don't think, to pay for that outright, nor the other $180,000 for Rotary and Connolly. So that would increase our our debt service. I was just saying, Angela, with the Dunham Road project currently going on,
Yes.
do you have any idea how much that is going to increase our debt service over a year over year, as far as payments?
I don't know until I determine what we're going to pay back when it comes due in November.
Okay, so that payback is at our discretion, or do we have to pay a
That's what I need to find
minimum?
out for you, because
Okay.
typically each year, the debt we did have before Dunham, we redo it every year and we take less, because we're going to use some to pay back.
Right.
So I would think Dunham's no different. The larger amount we can pay back, the better. But I will find out if we have, I'd rather not keep it all out, even if we keep some of it out if we're able to, but I will find out for you. I'd rather not keep all of it out.
Chairman Linville, if I may, I just want to speak to the Dunham project and the debt service piece. And I think that becomes maybe not a philosophical, but perhaps a philosophical question for the entire Finance Committee as it relates to what does this council think is the best approach for reducing debt service while providing some resources for the next year projects. Is our goal to pay as much off on debt service as you can and not have a cushion in the budget, or is it to we're talking a road improvement project, which typical lifespan is 20 years, or do we want to pay off our debt service over a longer period of time and leave more funds available for other projects? I think that's a philosophical question that the entire Finance Committee needs to have. What do we, along with our fiscal officer, what is our outlook for debt service over the long term? Do we want to pay it all off and have nothing in our hand, or do we want to stretch it out? I mean, it's a community road and we all use it, and it's, that old saying, your children and grandchildren are paying for repairs, but that's typical for for infrastructure. So we don't necessarily have to pay it all off the next year or within a 5-year period. But that's a committee, that's a full, I think that's a full
Our
committee.
debt is currently reissued each year.
Right.
So it's not that it just sits there as like
Right.
available credit, so to speak. We pay it all off, and then we reissuance of what we think we need.
Right.
Not even talking about Dunham, just our original debt.
How much of it do you want to reissue?
So, right, and how much are they willing to reissue us will be the question. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, yeah,
Exactly.
that'll factor in too. So I will find all that out.
Okay. Well, that's for the 2022 and 2023 programs. As far as this year goes, increasing the budget by $37,000 to do these repairs, for my way of thinking, I think we should do that. We're still on thin ice as far as having a budget that runs in the black. But these road programs, especially adding that $50,000 for the spot repair, according to Mr. Gelati, and he's on vacation this week, so he's unable to attend, and so is Mr. Kelman. I think that would go a long way for the residents also who drive these roads, all of our roads, and especially spot repairing the side roads. I think it's a worthwhile project to do. I know we have to do the county grant stuff because we're getting, as Joe Gelati put it, $113,000 worth of work for $59,000 when you include the grant. So that's where I stand with it. I looked at it and I don't have any problem doing it. But I'm very interested in knowing as soon as possible about the debt service and how much it's going to. I know we vary each year. I think we paid off, what, $250,000, $200,000 last year, something like that?
Yeah.
And that varies every year, and we can vary that, but we certainly don't want to be in a position where we can't make our mortgage, but we're making it right now, and we're in a good position to make it. And even increase it a little bit, I think, especially for these needed road programs. So that's where I'm sitting with this right now.
Okay. Chairman Linville, I had a couple questions for our fiscal officer. I think I understand the $90,000 that was set aside for roads or road potentially Dunham, Alexander. But as it relates to the county program, the road crack sealing and that piece, knowing that we had to pay for the labor and the county would reimburse for materials, did we already have, not separate from the 90, or do we already have monies allocated in the 2021 budget
Not
for?
separate from the 90, that's what I'm saying. I made a little note
Okay.
to myself. I'm calling it Alexander, but it was a note that I made to myself, and when I talked to Joe, we wouldn't have needed it really for Alexander, so that probably, it was road program and then any extra spillover.
Oh, okay.
So it's not, there's nothing in addition to, there's that 90,000 and change
Got it.
in there to cover whatever we're gonna use it for moving forward.
Okay.
I had that separate with the concrete program, separate with Dunham, so.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes it clear. So the 90 is all we're dealing with as it
Yep.
relates to road program dollars. Now, the other question I have is as it relates to when the Dunham Road project is complete, and if there are deductions for unperformed work or unused portions of the contingency that was set aside, are we at liberty to use those funds toward road program, those contingencies, where do the contingencies funds go? Do they just go back to the general fund, or where do they?
No, they would stay in the capital improvement fund, so if, whatever we pay out, if we don't end up, if we come in a little bit less than what we thought, they're gonna stay in capital improvement. So
Okay.
while it's there, we could use it.
So that would theoretically, in the way the project is going, be
Wash.
less out of our, less of an increase in our budget, I should say.
Right.
Than that. I did have some questions which can't be answered tonight for Mr. Gelati, but I'll just throw them out of here. There's on one of his charts, I can't find it here. It's over here. He addresses Fern and Logan asphalt at $96,000 with $21,000 from NEORSD money. And that was, I'm wondering where that NEORSD money is, and if we're going to lose that, or if that's a project we have to do this year, or let's
That is
see.
not something in talking to Joe that we have to do this year.
Yeah, Joe does not like, I'm sure we don't have to do it this year, and I know Joe does not
Correct.
like leaving money on the table
No.
at all. Where was that? I know, oh, here it is, under 2021 Walton Hills Infrastructure Improvement Cost Estimate. It's dated 11/25, this is 2020. Asphalt resurfacing, Fern and Logan, and it shows an NEORSD payment of or a grant of $21,000. So if we can get some clarification on that from Joe. And also, he states doing the north side of Sagamore, but if we're doing the center line stripe, is that included? Is he including the center line stripe in that payment? And also, is there, since we're doing Sagamore, I would hate to crack seal, or I shouldn't say we're doing, I'm saying if we do the proposal of crack sealing and doing the other work on Sagamore, I'd hate to do the north side of Sagamore and have cracks on the south side infringing on the north side that make our work less productive. So I'm wondering if there's a way we can speak with Northfield, and I believe that road goes down to Valley View also, and maybe we can coordinate a project this year with them. I know it's late in the year, but I think the conversation is worthy of having.
Yeah, Councilman Spitznagel, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I drove Sagamore Road a couple days ago. It was a very interesting picture from what I saw. I'm not a road engineer, but what I saw, it appeared to be there were a lot of crack sealing that had been done right between the two yellow lines. And I began to wonder, was that a joint project, or how does Walton Hills and Sagamore Hills, how do we come together when we have a project that runs right down the middle? And it kind of looked like there was more crack sealing repairs that had been done on the Walton Hills side.
Right.
But if you, especially from Dunham Road, Walton Road east to Northville Road, there's a lot of right down the middle. So I don't know if that's Mr. Mayor, if you have any input on how that type of work has been handled over the years historically in partnership. Other than the big project you guys did, or the total resurfacing?
Well, just, if it's Sagamore and Walton Hills side, between Sagamore and us, we do have the jet. Okay? So we are responsible for that area there. So that is something we would discuss with Sagamore and their board. So I think that's something that should be discussed. We'll take it from here and go from there, and I can get back to you on that. Because there is responsibility for us to maintain that area through the jet along with Sagamore. So I just want to get some a little more clarification from Joe on that. See where we're at. But approaching the other, if there's any other responsibility, that I agree with that. That would be no problem for me to approach the other communities. If there's because we all went in that project together, we should all maintain it together. I think that's where you're leading into.
Right.
Which makes sense. We certainly don't want to invest a lot of money along with Northfield, Valley View, Sagamore, and us, and we certainly don't want to.
Thank you.
I don't think I answered your.
No, I think you did. I think you did.
But we work together on that when it comes to the name, especially a certain area there. So we want to take that.
And the only other question I had, Mr. Chair, is on the spreadsheets for that Joe Gelati gave us. Now, again, this is dated 11/25 of 2020 for the hickory, tulip, and chestnut. The net village expenditure for that, he has $203,000. And according to his latest memo, he's estimating $300,000. So hopefully he's overestimating on ours, on this latest estimate. I know things have gone up, but that's, it's quite a bit of difference there that maybe he can address when he comes back. But Mr. Chair, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't have any problem recommending what Mr. Gelati wants to do this year, along with adding the $50,000 for the spot repairing of those side roads, which would increase our expenditures for the year around $37,000, minus whatever contingencies are in the Dunham Road project. That would be my recommendation to council. And then whatever the mayor, as he just said, works out, if he works something out with the other municipalities on Sagamore, and we can get some sort of pricing, for doing the entire road, as opposed to just the north side. That's where I stand.
Should we, we're just going to do one side of Sagamore, right? I mean,
That's ours. That's our.
the
yeah,
north
one
side, the north side would be ours.
Right.
What about Sagamore? What are they going to do? Are they going to?
That's, the mayor's going to talk to them.
Okay, because I really, unless that whole job is undertaken, I don't find Sagamore that particularly bad. I drive down it quite often, and I don't find it that bad. Okay, that's just my observation. Okay, someone else obviously can have another opinion, but Chair recognizes Mrs. Allen, or Ms. Allen, I should say.
Thank you, Chairman Linville. The contingency fund, Angela, so far we're only pulling 15,000 out of the 50, right?
As far as I know.
So that's, and we're really nearing the end of the project, so we could possibly potentially have 35,000 right there to be added.
Right.
So that's what I thought it was. I just wanted to double check that, so we're only looking at 15,000 coming out of that 50.
The problem with, one thing, as I think about Sagamore Road, is wait on it to see what the other municipalities have to say about it. But I also don't want to lose the county grant money. So we have what's the timeline for that county grant money to be used? Do we know?
Well, the reimbursement it has to be reimbursed by March.
Yeah, March,
so
that's right.
It has to be done this season primarily. You can't do any work January, February, so that type work. So this construction season.
So it's coming near, so. I'd hate to lose that money. If worse comes to worse, I would just say, well, do our side of it and rather than lose the rest of that money and have Sagamore Road, our side at least, be cracked and not maintained.
Well, let's have that conversation, we can have that, I'll have that conversation, because it might be, if it's bad, it's worthwhile for them.
Sure.
You know, if they're there, if we have the repairs, are making, to do it all at once is a lot more beneficial for everybody.
Yeah.
We all know that.
And
We'll
efficient.
get a better quote.
Right.
If they do them both at the same time, both sides. You know, 'cause the contractor's there.
Right.
Well, and they may have a grant for it also.
Right.
So we'll just have to wait until the mayor talks to the judge and stuff about it to make a decision.
Yeah, I'll let Joe get together with their engineer and we'll see where everybody's at.
Okay. Do you want to, Mr. Chair, do you want to wait on a recommendation from us to council until the mayor has that conversation?
Sure.
And then we can see what that all entails, and, or what would you like, Ray?
Councilman Spitznagel, I mean, I know we have some concrete, well, asphalt concrete. We have some,
Pardon the pun.
no pun intended, no pun intended. We have some clear projects already on the table, and the only portion of the project that is still to be considered is how much of Sagamore. We know what it is to do the north side. Yeah, I'm very comfortable if with a recommendation for us to at least recommend moving forward with the items that we have on the table, subject to being edited or amended after the mayor's conversation.
Yeah, that sounds very prudent.
At least, from a committee standpoint, we would have reached that point of recommendation, knowing what we know. And so then Mr. Gelati, when he hears back from the mayor, we're ready to advertise or whatever it takes to get the advertisement and all that, because it's a short season left.
Right.
We're June, middle of June. September is really when his work kind of gets done.
Mm-hmm.
September, October.
Yeah, I think that's very prudent to do it that way. It can only because if the other community or communities come in with us on Sagamore, it can only get a little bit better.
Right.
So,
I just wanted to say with the recommendation too, just because we're going on recess, we could always have another infrastructure committee meeting to discuss with the mayor, Joe finds out, and then a special council meeting if necessary.
mhm.
To keep everything moving along. It's not that we won't see each other for 2 months or anything like that, so I think moving forward, as much as we can, and we do have to give Joe some time to come back from vacation though, to outreach there.
So I can comment, I don't know, let me just comment real quick. So I did talk to Joe, he is on vacation though, but we had something else that we just wanted to clarify. And he knew, otherwise he'd be at the meeting, but he did say, he might have shared this, maybe I missed this. But if we go off, we approve it, to go out for bid in September for the repairs and the striping, it gives us plenty of time. We just wanted to make that clear. But also, like Councilwoman Allen mentioned, we are going to have a special meeting June 29th, 2 weeks from today. And maybe we can have some more information at that time. Maybe if that's the case, we'll put a COW meeting maybe before that special council meeting. Then we can kind of, get some, talk about this a little more. Maybe have some more information. I can have Joe here too. So even if we do go on recess, right, we can always have more meetings. But we do know we're having a special meeting June 29th, so maybe we can tag on that too. That would probably help.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, that would be my recommendation to go ahead with Mr. Gelati's recommendations for this year to the full council and the mayor.
At the next meeting, we do that?
Yeah, that would be at the next meeting. It wouldn't be on tonight's council meeting, I guess.
You could bring it up under other business, that you had your meeting and, at least throw it out there again. I mean, it's up to you.
And while it's fresh.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this road maintenance program cost summary. This dump truck, who put the dump truck?
Oh, that was my notes. When you asked for that, that was just my notes on there. That was me. That didn't have anything to do with the road program.
So that's not, we're not going to buy a dump truck, are we, though?
We haven't talked about it yet. We haven't officially.
Yeah, Chairman Linville, if I may, I'm glad Ryan did put the dump truck on there for a discussion item, because one of the things we talked about, or I talked about at the last meeting, our last CLW meeting, was we talked about this dump truck that was an item that was brought forward if my understanding is correct, was brought to the table in preparations for the 2021 budget. But we did not allocate any funds toward that truck.
Okay.
And my comments were, from a infrastructure committee and capital spending framework, before we start looking at new projects in the middle of a year, 2021, let's go back and take a look at what was taken off the table during the last budget cycle, and that's where that truck kind of comes resurface. We talked about it back in September, October, November, but we didn't fund it. So the need is still there, and according to Councilman Spitznagel, the need has gotten worse for a truck. So we just don't want to lose sight of that 100 and whatever that $80,000 potential capital expenditure for a truck.
The need is that being defined by the service department, or?
Yes.
Yes, our dump trucks are both very old, and they have been configured and reconfigured and fixed up by our mechanic, George German. So the sooner we can purchase one, the safer it will be for everyone.
This one,
we have two of
Well,
them.
it's safe.
it's safe. It's just, it's
It's that it's in need. It's an old truck that needs to be improved before we have to put more money. We're continuing to put money into it.
Right.
The money's starting to exceed the cost of the value of the truck, so there's no doubt.
Do we have an estimate on the money that we're going to put in the old truck, or?
Oh, it's running, Ben.
Huh?
It's running now. It's not that we don't have a truck,
Right.
but it's in need to be replaced.
It's I believe it's a 1994 vehicle. I used it.
26 years?
Yeah, I used it for, the village has a program where they'll bring it over to your house, and you could put your miscellaneous items that you want to get rid of into it. And I had a close-up view of it and walk around, and yeah, it is. What we don't want is the truck to go down in January where we have to use it for salting and stuff like that. That's my main concern. So I would like to task somebody, whoever that somebody would be, to, not that we have to pay the $180,000 cash for the truck, determine what, if we have to make payments, we go out and buy a car, what kind of financing we can get on that. I know leasing is a horrible idea. We've already gotten lease estimates, and the interest rate is horrible. But if we could get a regular type loan,
We can try.
7-year loan or 5-year loan, something like that.
We don't have credit, keep that in mind.
Yeah,
So
I know.
even financing the police radios was a challenge.
Yeah.
We
But there's got to be some sort of creative
Yeah.
financing that we can do through one of our banks that we do business with possibly. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out
Yeah,
for
I mean,
us,
I'm just
you
letting you
know,
know, we just
to-
tried on financing for the police radios, and that was a bit of a challenge,
Yeah.
so we can always try, yes.
Yeah,
Will it come to
um,
fruition? I don't know. The other thing I will check with George and Rob again is, are we going to reapply for the diesel mitigation grant?
Right.
Right.
Because if we go for less money this time and ask for less, we probably have a better chance of possibly getting it, you know.
Well, yeah, but, you know, like I said last week or a couple weeks ago, we can ask, but keep asking for the grants, but you know, if they're not coming through.
Right, but it still
Then-
doesn't hurt to ask.
Oh, absolutely, we have to keep asking, but I wouldn't depend on getting it, that's where my point is. If we knew that we were going to get it, obviously we would wait, but we don't know. And I think the time has arrived for us to, we've kicked that can down the road long enough.
Mr. Spitzino, you mentioned task. That falls under the administration,
Okay.
myself, Angela, and the department head. So we'll take care of it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Maybe we'll have something for discussion if we do that with COWs for the special meeting in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you.
We can come up with, see what we have. Even talk maybe a little more in depth on, you know, on the truck in the state and where we're at. And what we would do, you know, we should always have some type of, and I kind of already have a good idea, that it's some kind of contingency plan. Let's say if it did happen, it wouldn't matter if it was a new truck and it
Right.
happened. And I know some of that is we support
Oh,
some neighboring communities
sure.
that support us, you know, in that type of need.
Right.
Because we both have in the past. But we'll be able to share all that information.
Okay.
So,
Well, and if I may, I know that,
I don't know, is this being picked up?
right.
Oh, okay.
I know that last year, I believe Rob brought in through permits and fees and things like that, approximately 44,000. And so I've been thinking about this dump truck and wondering, okay, so is there maybe like a 4-year program that we can, is this something that could have debt issued for? And those fees that Rob is bringing in through the service and building department could be applied to that? So maybe within 4 years, we could pay it off? I don't know, but again, that's something they would have to, you know, the administration would have to look at, but that was something that I was thinking about, because it's desperate need. I mean, George took 2 broken plows and welded them together to make one useful one. Some of this stuff we just have to get. It's just, how do we get it right now?
well, you issue debt no matter what. I mean, whether
Yeah.
you take a loan, whether you do it, I mean, it's debt.
Right.
So, but we're fortunate, the department's been very conservative, and we're, you know, and let's see what happens. I know we're gonna talk about some things tonight and stuff, so.
That's what is that, a 4-ton or dump truck? 6-ton or,
I don't know what the tonnage netting is.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
no?
It's a, you know, it's a big truck.
All right, I'm gonna talk to Joe Gelati then, so that's what I need to do. So I'm gonna call him. Okay, in terms of our striping program, do we have to do that all at one fell swoop? I mean, we can break that up, right?
What would be your reason to?
Huh?
What's your reason to?
Well, to allocate the cost over a longer period of time.
So what do you mean, like years, or, I mean, they all need
Well,
to be
couldn't we
done
do,
now.
why can't we do a little striping this year, a little striping next year, et cetera?
That's okay, I'm talking to the committee, you're the chairman, so you're.
Well, given that the funds are there included in some of that county grant, Mr. Linville, you would almost want to do it as soon as you're done resurfacing those portions, you want to go ahead and stripe them. It kind of just all goes hand in hand, that if we're doing those three roads or portions of those 3 roads with part of the county road grant money, we're gonna go ahead and kind of button up the package and do every piece that needs to be done, you know, in the fall when it all started. So.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
The only, the striping of those roads, Egbert, Sagamore, and Dunham, are included in the county grant program
Right.
that has to be used this year. The only two roads that we're talking about extra for this year would be Alexander and Walton. And that would add $18,000 to that cost.
how much would it add?
18,000, and that would be the main roads in the village then would be done. So we're only talking two roads, really. Northfield is a county road,
Yeah.
so the county takes care of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's why I would,
State of Ohio.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's a state route.
Oh, that.
8, yeah.
Pretty much in that road.
yeah, Northfield.
Yeah, yeah.
People found out it was a state route today.
Yeah. So that's why this needs to be put into one year. It has to be used this year.
Yeah,
And you get a better price than if you do it
No,
all.
I understand.
You know, so that helps.
so do you guys want to go ahead and approve this program, or?
I would, for my part, for my vote, I would say to recommend this year's, what Mr. Gelati recommended, to the council of the whole this evening.
Mr. Whedon?
I second that recommendation if that's necessary, but I agree with the recommendation from Councilman
Okay.
Spitznagel.
All right, then we will consult further with Mr. Gelati, and then we will act in accordingly.
Okay.
All right, does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
the only other thing, if I may take 2 minutes and talk about the alternative energy facilities that if I may talk about the alternative energy facilities
Yeah.
proposal that Mr. Smirgan sent us. I gave you a copy, it printed up, it is in color. If you go 3 pages in, it starts at 1276.07. What he did, we currently have a 1276 section of our ordinances on the website that deals with wind energy. He put both of these together in a new section 1276. I highlighted in yellow our recommendations, which he included. So just to summarize, he put in 1276.07A, he reworded that to accessory components located behind the front line of the principal building. And also in section B, accessory components are located either within the building or behind the front line, as he suggested. He did in section C, in roof-mounted solar panel arrays, add our wording in items 2 and 3, the solar panel shall be installed to avoid glare or reflection onto adjacent properties, and they shall not contain any visible advertising off the premises. That is in roof-mounted. One of my thoughts is if we wanted that same items 2 and 3 to be also included in the freestanding. He did not include that verbiage in the freestanding section. If you go to the freestanding section, which is 1276.08 on the next page, echo, E is an echo. He does have the wording behind the principal, front line of the principal building, but he also has under E, accessory components shall be screened in accordance with Chapter 1298. I had the question there, do we want to add this to the roof-mounted section also for the accessory components being screened? I know we had talked about that. And then I have the additional note of adding C2 and C3, which is the wording for to avoid glare and the advertising from the freestanding ones also. He did put in here, which I like, I don't know if I highlighted it though. He did include, oh yeah, in 127608, item B, minimum setback, we talked about the minimum setbacks between the residential and industrial areas.
Right.
And it says shall not be located in any designated buffer area. So he added that wording.
Shall not be located here?
In any designated buffer area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that I have. He did do those, like I said, but I'm just wondering if we want to add, as per my notes in 127607, A and B, the accessory components shall be screened in accordance with 1298. And then in section E of 127608, add the verbiage of avoiding glare and advertising for neighbors to see. So those were the only two things I had. We don't have to answer those questions tonight, but take a look at that and digest it.
Okay.
So we can then make a recommendation to council. Maybe we're going to have a special council meeting in 2 weeks anyway, so maybe if we can get this done within the next 2 weeks and
Right.
make the recommendation to council then on this, so we can get this passed in the
So
fall.
you got all, that's all written down, you got it all written down?
It's right, yeah, I think I gave you a copy. I can give you another one.
1276, yeah.
Yep, that's the one, if you go 3 pages in, I think is,
1276.
that's the
Oh,
old
wait.
one. That's the old one. I think this is the new one.
So we
Yeah.
can throw this out then.
Yeah, that's what he, if you want to reference the old one, and this is what he changed in yellow, and these are some of my notes on this.
Okay, okay. Okay, so we'll move forward on this then, too, Brian. Right?
Yeah, if you want to, Ray, would you feel comfortable taking a week or so, look at this stuff? And
Absolutely. Yeah, because I really did not get a chance to really read
Yeah.
it, so. Then my next question is after our committee has done our review, we send it to the full council with our recommendations, and then
Yep.
from there it goes back to, does it go back to planning commission since we've now combined to, does this go back to planning?
that's something for Mr. Smirgan to answer. I would
Okay.
assume no, because we didn't really change
Just combine,
substance.
yeah, okay, all right.
But he can certainly answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Only comment I just wanted to make is thank you, Chairman Linville, for scheduling this infrastructure committee meeting, and the prior meeting I think is really important for this committee and all committees to be able to spend some time just isolated on specific concerns and items, and been able to try to see how we can best serve our community. So I just want to thank you for scheduling this meeting. We have some clear recommendations for 2021.
Yeah.
We have a pretty good snapshot of our financial resources that will be may be necessary for 2022
Right.
and for 2023 before we even start talking about those budgets. So I just want to thank you for holding this committee meeting.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, or Council. So, should we adjourn, or,
Yeah.
Yes.
60, yeah, it's time to adjourn, I think. We're getting close to our regular COW meeting. So, there's a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned at 6:57 PM.